this chart is the Ethereum active addresses, and this is the historical chart. So we can see down here when ETH launched, it had like 2K addresses, and then it kind of had like an initial like kind of build up. You can see it was ranging from like maybe 10K to like all the way before it started really like with some real growth all the way up to 24K. So like 10K to 24K was the range it was sitting at sort of in early days. If you look at PulseChain right now, it's pretty much the exact same. So we kind of had a bottom out here at 10K, and now we'll be all the way up to 45K. So like 10K to 30K. It's the exact same range. And PulseChain hasn't entered the bull market. So what we're seeing here, let me pull back this Ethereum chart, is 2017 comes around, and that was when Bitcoin started to have a run back in 2017. And you can see ETH here start to have some good adoption, even down here into 2018. January 2018, it had lots and lots of adoption. I could see PulseChain having a very, very, very similar sort of run up to this, because if you look at this, let's compare from January 2016 to January 2017. So basically 1 year, it was just sitting in this tiny little range of like, let's say on average, 5 to 10 to like 30,000 addresses, and then it just exploded out of nowhere in the bull market. So this is exactly what PulseChain looks like. Even if you were to look at the daily transactions, this is another good metric to look at. But I remember, Max, I was on your stream like a while back, and I was calling for like, I was saying we need to get up to 1 million daily transactions, and we're getting 977,000. So we're getting up there here.
And yeah, the transactions, I mean, that's, can you just talk about too, like how important that is for a chain stuff? Pretty sure I remember Alex from Hedron talking about, didn't he? I feel like he made some tweet about transactions being so key, like the volume, the transactions, that kind of thing being super key to like evaluating maybe the health of the ecosystem or otherwise.
Absolutely. So like if you have like a ghost chain and stuff like that, and we're going to compare this metric to other chains as well, but if you have a ghost chain and no one's using your blockchain, you're going to have a low amount of transactions. That's not necessarily like, that's not really a good thing. If no one's using your blockchain, like there's no community, there's pretty much no adoption. I remember Richard was talking about how when he had the sacrifice addresses set up, he could see where all the volume was coming from on all the different like networks and stuff like that, layer 2, layer 1s, or whichever network. And you could see like majority of this stuff was like just a bunch of garbage, like in terms of its volume, which that doesn't necessarily mean it won't pump. But when you have, especially when you have Pulse chains, it shares the same sort of code and consensus as similar consensus to Ethereum. EIP 5, what is it? EIP 4559.
1559.
1559.
Is that the fee? That's the fee burning one, I believe. Is the one you're talking about?
Yeah. So yeah, as the block space fills up, as like the transactions start to pile up on top of each other, then we're gonna start to see more deflation. And even when you look at the when you look at Ethereum now, it slowly deflates, and if you look at Bitcoin, it still slowly inflates. Like I hear people like, in Richard Hart's talked about it, like Michael Saylor always says Bitcoin's deflationary and like the supply is halvening and it's gonna cut in half, but it's super deceiving when you say it like that, because it makes it sound like the supply of Bitcoin's gonna cut in half, which is not the case. Like the supply of Bitcoin's always going up until 21 million Bitcoin, and then it stops. But yeah, let's see this tweet from Alex here.
Yeah, there's only really one metric that matters to me personally. It's unique transactions on chain per day.
So, and there you go. So there's that. This is probably one of the most important metrics then. And even if we look at like Ethereum, sorry, let's look at the Cardano block explorer. This is the transactions basically daily. You can see it only does 67,000 transactions on this entire network. Like I'm looking at the block explorer here, and I was also looking at trading view to sort of uh, reference the numbers off of here as well. But you can see here Cardano's like it's right here, 66,000 transaction, which is basically nothing. And you can see all the chains we're beating out here. Monero, we're doing more transactions in Monero, more transactions in Ethereum Classic, more transactions in Bitcoin Cash, more transactions in Dash. I haven't necessarily heard of this one. More transactions in ICP. Tons of stuff here. More transactions in Polygon Matic. So I know like people, I remember always seeing stuff about Polygon Matic and stuff like that, but it does 2,700 transactions. PulseChain would be all the way all the way up here with like a Bitcoin and Litecoin and stuff. Even if we look at the Litecoin Explorer, this might not be the right one here. I think I had the yeah, here we go. Transactions last 24 hours, only 179,000. So PulseChain, maybe not every single day, but if we look at even the past couple of days, I can't quite see it on my screen, but yeah, here, that's in the 200,000s. So PulseChain's it's kicking it out there. Like it is, especially when you compare it to other chains. Just looking at daily transactions, it's doing a lot of daily transactions, and that means people are actually using this blockchain, which is what you want to see, right? Like more activity is good. And when you even if you look at TVL and stuff, so early days Ethereum TVL basically had nothing, jumped up to like 250 million. I guess your DeFi start to spawn in 2019. So TVL starts to jump up 202 to 300 million. You have dips down to 100 million, dips down to 100 million, and then it climbs all the way up here to, I can't exactly read the number, but 100 million USD. If we look at PulseChain, it is almost the exact. I bet you once this chart matures, like let's say 5 or 10 years down the road, that same little increment we were looking at with the Ethereum, like that little jump up and then it had like some volatility. I bet you this PulseChain chart's gonna look very similar to that. Like coming like once this chart starts to mature, because even if you look, it jumps up here 500 million, right? You have some volatility down to like 300, 400, 3, 2, comes down here to like 100 million. It chills down here for a while after like sort of the SEC stuff happens, and then boom, like you start to see the TVL start to take off. And I wouldn't be surprised if this goes like way past the billions. Not financial advice, like way past the billions. Like that should be easy for the Pulse chain. And when you're taking a look back at Ethereum, like we'll zoom this out a little bit. So yeah, it went from basically sub like half a billion in 2020 all the way up to 100 billion in 2021. So Pulse Chain doesn't have to go to 100 billion TVL. Even if it went to like 50 billion, which is what Ethereum's at right now, that would be a lot. Even 10 billion would be a lot of TVL for Pulse Chain. That's like 20x the current TVL we have right now, and that's perfect.
Sorry.
Right there.
Yeah, I just wanted to, like, this is what a tweet I made the other day too, which, what gets us PulseChain 100x. I was just throwing out some things like 1 million to 10 million active wallets, 1 million to 10 million daily transactions, 500 million to, you were talking about billions, 10 billion plus TVL, 5 billion on the bridge, all these other little pieces to it too. But yeah, definitely the TVL and the imagining a world where PulseChain is just so much bigger than it is today, and able to do the Metcalfe's law, the network effect and stuff too. Like what do you think is the most important out of like these particular things versus even in tying it into Ethereum, right? You're talking about Ethereum versus PulseChain now. Ethereum was able to achieve a lot of these numbers, right? So like what does it look like for PulseChain?
So I think one of the most important metrics, and one of the metrics I'm going to be looking at, is the bridge, the amount of money that's getting bridged, the cumulative inflows and outflows and stuff like that. So there's really good Dune analytics for this actually. We can take a look here. This is perfect because it'll show you basically net money leaving or net money basically entering. And you can see here, it had a big run up to start with, and then like kind of like stayed stable, maybe like slowly down here, and then the SEC FUD happened. But what you could actually see is a lot of people were actually buying the dip, and we're gonna take a look at some other metrics here as well. See if they're on this page. I might have to find the other analytics page, but that's okay. But yeah, you could see on the day of the SEC, a lot of money left the bridge, but a lot of money was also bridged in to kind of like close that gap a little bit. But now what you've seen here is sort of it took back sort of this SEC. Yeah, it took back this SEC dip here in the bridge, but I'm trying to see the bridge get to like 1 billion, 1.5 billion locked value in there, and that's plenty. Like if you were to take like 900 million more stable coins, let's just say stable coins, through the bridge and buy PulseChain, like you would do a lot, like you would increase TVL and everything, right? If you're buying PulseChain, because now PulseChain's more expensive. Now Liquid Loans has more TVL. I don't know if the DeFi Llama accounts for the PulseChain that's locked, but I believe it should.
I don't think it counts validators, but it does count liquid loans.
Sweet. So yeah, and even then, like it's not even counting validators. So if PulseChain, like if let's say $900 million comes in and market buys, let's say right now, like the validator TVL would shoot through the roof, right? Just from that inflow of money. So one of the most important things I think is watching this bridge. I'll pull up. This is perfect. So you can see here in July how many stable coins left the bridge. Like a lot of stable coins left the bridge, and you can see a ton of different metrics here. Like you can see at the beginning, like there was a ton of stable coins entering, and as well as there were some other things I was looking at earlier, but I'm missing them. That's okay. But yeah, you can see this is what I wanted to showcase as well. This is if you're watching these Dune analytics, you can see when big chunks of money get bridged over. Because usually, like if someone's bridging, let's say, $10 million over, let's just say they're bridging $8 million of stable coins over, or something like that. Chances are they might not just hit market buy all in like $8 million order. So if you're watching sort of this bridge inflow, you can pay attention. You can see like, holy crap, there's a lot of money coming in, and the price hasn't really moved yet. Like there's probably people in the backgrounds like making moves or wanting to make moves. So you could not front run, but basically like sort of front run if they were wanting to buy. You can basically front run their buys if that's what they're wanting to do.
Well, and just another piece that I think is interesting on this too is once you see a big amount of capital come into the bridge, like does that kick off a race between, hey, there's a bunch of money here. If I think they're going to buy, I want to front run them. I want to buy before they do because I know the price is going to go up. And it's just this race to see who can buy the fastest and like who can get the better price before it goes up to get the profits too. Like I want to see that kick off in PulseChain. That's going to be exciting.
It could be like a compounding induced FOMO kind of.
I think I just described FOMO. Yes, bridge FOMO.
Yeah, like, but it is crazy to look at them. Like if I remember looking at the price, people were trying to, or like when the price was going, just trying to get above SAC there, and it was just being like extremely volatile there. Like it went from like 50% of SAC, and it was like 60% of SAC, 70% of SAC, 80% of SAC. I know everyone was trying to get money through the bridge. I like a lot of people, that was their indication that like now is the time, like let's FOMO in. And I think even watching these analytics, like if you were to look even a couple days before, you could see there was $1.32 million of stables bridged in. That's a kind of a big number. That's pretty much been the biggest since October. So if you were looking at some of these metrics, you could see there was a lot of money coming in. Even if we're looking at December, one of the biggest deposits here was only like 700K of stable coins, 800K or like close to 800K of stable coins. So once you see here, this starts to turn around $1 million worth, you can be like, oh, okay, this is bullish, right? And then you see the next day, like, let's take a look at this almost $11 million worth of stable coins entering the bridge. This is probably not just only one entity, but this goes to show like there's $10 million entering the bridge. Like, it's time to be bullish. But yeah, if you look even recently though, like I think this is why sentiment's flipping for some people, is it looks like there's also some people bridging out like 500,000, 600,000. So what 1 million here in stable coins. But if you look at compared to the SEC dump, this is almost 10 million stables in a day. So it's like 90% less of people like trying to like take money off the chain than before. But I think I think this is sort of this is not smart money. I don't think. Even if you were to look at like some of these people bridging out here, this unless you were to perfectly able to execute your trade like at a good price and you didn't have to sit through all the depression, like if you got out for like a good price, then maybe you're happy with that. But a lot of people like they just sold the bottom on the SEC FUD, and now what? You're missed out on like 200% gains, and they're probably buying back higher.
I think the people bridging out are just chasing other opportunities in ecosystems. And that's the thing, is like if we get the FOMO bridge stuff that happened in the beginning where, there was a whole bunch the whole week, man, the bridge was just like, does this thing work? Does it work? Because it's so slow and there's so many problems. And it's like, a good problem to have for a new ecosystem for it to come in. But for people, if that happens again and you've bridged out to go chase another opportunity and you bridged out ETH or DAI or whatever it is, let's not even say you even sold PLS or anything. You didn't have exposure. You were just waiting here because you thought something was going to happen. You bridge out, try to come back in when there's FOMO. It's like, I don't know, for me, it's just bridging out is it's a risk. I mean, I guess it's a risk bridging in too, because if you get into something and price goes down, like that's one part of it too. But bridging out, if we're primed to pump, that's where I would want to leave my money bridged in. Just personally speaking, it's like when something is primed to pump, what other ecosystem is primed more than we are?